Alright gang, come on in. Yo, what's happening people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you lot are all doing well today, my friends. Really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, the daily series here on Football Therapy, where I see what's been said about Chelsea, giving you my opinion, but more importantly, of course, asking for yours. A couple of things I want to talk about today. I want to delve into Fabrizio Romano's update regarding N'golo Kante's transfer extension. Very interesting talking point, because Kante is 30 and he has got 2 years left on his deal. So what are Chelsea proposing to do here? Will he retire at Chelsea? Also, I want to run through the Chelsea player salaries, so say if website Sport Track. And if we are to believe it, it's pretty shocking. Settle back, get comfortable, subscribe to this channel, hey, only if you want to, but if you do, hit the bell notifications icon and drop a like on the video, please, to show your sweet, loving support. And I want to take a moment to urge you to consider checking out my other channel, Football Yannick, where I do 2 or 3 videos a day over on that bad boy, and you might dig it, so consider going to check out Football Yannick. Click the link in the description to go find it. Alright then, let's start off the video and talk about N'golo Kante. Chelsea's sweet, smiling, World Cup winning, Champions League winning, multiple Premier League winning, PFA Player of the Year winning, I could go on. Central midfielder looking likely to sign a new deal with the Chelsea. Now, this is interesting and I'll tell you why. I'll read Fabrizio Romano's quote to you in just a moment, or his tweet rather. This is interesting to me because N'golo Kante is already 30 years old. And he's 30, not with 12 months left on his deal, but with 2 ruddy years still left on his deal. Now, if Chelsea brought in a 30-year-old, usually the deal would be, we give you 12 months a pop, you know? But lately, they've been a little bit more limber and loose on this rule, and they've been giving 1+1s. So for example, you know, Thiago Silva, they gave him a 1+1. I think when Giroud originally came in, and he was already in his 30s, I think he was already in his 30s, he must have been 30 or 31, we gave him an 18-month deal. So, a 1+1 deal isn't even as good as a 2-year deal because it just means they have the option to trigger a year. They don't have to if they're not happy with you, so there's no like locked-in obligation. Do you know what I mean? So you could look at that and think, well, N'golo Kante's already got a better deal than a 1+1. He's got 2 full years of security left on his contract, and he's now in his 30s. Well, the truth is, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, N'golo Kante, of course, is a special case. You don't need me to tell you that. Something I've been saying recently and waxing lyrical about is, on form, he looks like the best player in the world right now. And that's, yes, if you take away attacking player bias. He has been absolutely magnificent. And furthermore, N'golo Kante keeps his body in great shape. Yes, he's had some injury problems of late, but generally he's professional, doesn't drink, trains hard, humble, great person to be around, and that's the kind of player you want to extend his deal and maybe look to have him retire at Chelsea. The truth is as well, N'golo Kante looks like one of these players that could still be valuable in the Premier League in 4 years time. Even if his legs slow down a little bit, Kante has demonstrated an immense football intelligence on the pitch and always knows what space to occupy at what time. Even if it doesn't mean running a lot, he knows what to do. He's very, very smart and effective on the pitch. Let's take a look at Fabrizio Romano's tweet to give you some context of this update. Chelsea will offer N'golo Kante a new contract, planning to open negotiations in the next month. Quote, no rush, as the relationship with N'golo is great. He wanted to stay last summer after some complicated weeks, and 2 bids received. Chelsea want to reward Kante. One thing you can be certain of, Kante won't be kicking up a fuss asking for more money or a different contract. It's more looking at the player and rewarding him, giving him security. Now, it's interesting, this tweet saying there was complications last summer. Of course, there were some articles going around that I reported on about N'golo Kante potentially being sold and potentially being unhappy. Certain journalists said that as well. 2 bids received. We know for a fact one of those bids was from N'golo Kante of Inter Milan, and that was probably around 60 million euro, which is, what's that, 48 million pounds or something? It's nowhere near enough for N'Golo Kante that was yet to hit 30. So yeah, not sure who the other bid was from, who knows? Maybe it was from Paris Saint-Germain. Thomas Tuchel always said like he's been trying to get him, maybe he was trying to bring him to France. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Maybe that bid was a little bit more. Chelsea reluctant to sell, but I wonder if there was a time when they thought, maybe he would want to go. Maybe this is the time to cash in and, rebuild. But of course, Kante, ever the professional, wouldn't have kicked up a fuss and by all accounts from these reports wanted to stay, and he's been absolutely magnificent recently and everything's worked out for the best. The new manager Thomas Tuchel of course absolutely adores him. He was integral to Chelsea's Champions League win, winning man of the match in both semi-final legs against Real Madrid and of course in the final against Premier League champions Manchester City. Kante is in the form of his life. So Chelsea are willing to reward him with an updated contract. So I wonder, is it probably just a pay rise? I imagine it is, and maybe they give him an extra year, like 2 years plus 1 or something at an improved rate, you'd imagine. And this is where it gets interesting, and I want to talk about salaries in the video because it's very, very difficult to get a clean grasp of what actually players are being paid. Do you know what I mean? You hear conflicting reports, and in my head, I had an idea of salaries in the sense of I thought Kante was already Chelsea's highest earner, and he should be, because I thought this is how I remember it historically, or the stories in my head of reports coming out, and I've just banked it in there, probably wrongly, but this is what I remember. Chelsea were desperately, obviously, trying to get Eden Hazard to stay. He wanted to go to Real Madrid, and he would have got, I think he gets paid like over 400k a week at Real Madrid. He was the talisman for Chelsea, and reports suggest Chelsea offered Hazard 400k a week to stay, to sign a new deal, because he was that important, and he was worth that. You know, again, to use the example of Wilfried Zaha at Palace as their talisman, he was worth all the money. Do you know what I mean? So to Chelsea, what Hazard did, they were like, yeah, we'll give you 400k a week, mate. Do you know what I mean? We'll do it. I think at the time, Alexis Sanchez was still knocking about on 400k a week or something like that. United, yeah. And around this time, N'golo Kante got his extension, I think just after winning the World Cup, and they were like, well, N'golo Kante won Premier League with Leicester, Premier League with Chelsea, I think he just won the World Cup, and this guy's absolutely integral and the best at what he does. I think at the time, he signed a contract extension, so he was bought in 2016, and I believe he was given a new 4-year deal in 2018, or was it 5-year deal? It would have been 5-year deal because of where we are now. Would it be 5-year deal? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, a new 5-year deal in 2018 after winning the World Cup, and I thought we were paying N'Golo Kante 290k a week. I don't know where that number came from, and I remember reading that somewhere and thinking, yes, that makes sense. Yes, it's a lot of money, and Chelsea don't pay as much as some clubs. They pay a lot, but they're not the top. So I thought, yeah, it makes sense. 290, our highest earner, not quite 300k. N'Golo Kante is absolutely worth that. And in my head, that was just what was true. That was it. But I've since read other reports saying that he's on 140k a week, and both Kai Havertz and Timo Werner and other players earn more than him, which made no sense to me. I was like, why are we, young German kids? Yes, they're worth that money that's reported, but Kante should be on more than that. Of course he should. So I've looked at this website, Sport Track or something, that's got player salaries. I don't know whether to believe it. Don't take this as gospel, friends. This is just me looking at a website. Do you know what I mean? It's just like me reading the news headlines. I'm merely reacting to it with you, friends. Don't take me as a source, and absolutely don't take this as, like I say, legit. Although it could be true. It looks like a professional website. I'm going to read you through the list now, and we'll look at the highest earners at Chelsea's roster, or on Chelsea's roster. Interestingly, at the top, Ben Chilwell on 190 grand a week. Cool, so off the bat, this is much less than 290s as a highest earner salary, which N'Golo Kante would be worth, of course. Ben Chilwell. Now, a lot of you thinking, what? A left back? A young left back we just bought. But I suppose if you think about it, we would have negotiated a deal with him from Leicester. He probably would have been on a big salary at Leicester as a Premier League starting left back, from a sort of top 6-ish club. So coming to Chelsea, he would have had a good agent and said, look, you've got England starting left back here, because he was at the time. He was England starting left back. So you're buying England starting left back from a Premier League rival who is a really good left back. You're going to have to pay him a lot on a new long-term deal. So that kind of makes sense to me. He was like one of the later deals done in the summer. So yeah, I guess, with deals renewed, Ben Chilwell won't be the highest earner at Chelsea, but with that, looking through that lens, it kind of makes sense. Next up, Timo Werner on 170k a week. Yeah, this makes sense as well. Timo Werner on 170k, scored loads of goals for Leipzig. It was being looked at by Bayern Munich and Real Madrid and Liverpool and stuff. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't scored the goals we wanted him to, but he's performed well and like worked very hard, Timo Werner. So it makes sense, do you know what I mean? Next up, Christian Pulisic on £158,000 a week. Yeah, interesting again, because we got him from Dortmund a while ago. We loaned him back. That is high wages, isn't it, for Christian Pulisic? Again, talismanic, jewel in the crown for America. Captain America. I mean, he's a very talented player. There's players on a lot more than him in the Premier League that are probably not as good, so I guess that's fine. Next up, Kepa Arrizabalaga on £150k a week. Yeah, Kepa at £150,000 a week on a 7-year deal. You can understand why Chelsea all of a sudden are like, oh my god, we need to get value out of Kepa, make him the first team goalkeeper again, or make him good again so someone will want to buy him. Because that's 150k a week amortised over 7 years with a £71 million transfer fee. That's burning a massive hole in your pocket, I tell you. Next up, Cesar Azpilicueta, 145k. Yeah, this makes sense. Captain, signed a new deal around the same time Marcos Alonso signed an extension at Chelsea. He's been with Chelsea forever. We spent nothing on him when we bought him from Marseille. He's the captain. He's in his prime years, or exiting his prime years. Makes sense. Next up, N'golo Kante, £144,000. Nearly £50,000 a week less than Ben Chilwell and N'golo Kante. You can understand now why Chelsea would absolutely want to, keep him happy. So look, even if it does, maybe they give him a 3-year deal. So his deal would see out to 33 years old, and they bump it up to 200k a week. Let's face it, N'Golo Kante should be the highest earner at Chelsea. He's the best player. He's won the most stuff. He's the most important. He should be the highest paid. Simple as. Right then, I'm not going to talk about each player, but just so you have some more context from the list on this particular website, I'm going to run through the salaries listed here a bit quickly. Kai Havertz, 140k a week. Callum Hudson-Odoi, 120k a week. Jorginho, 110k a week. Giroud, 110k a week as well. Thiago Silva, also 110k a week. Marcos Alonso's on 100k. Reece James is on 100k. Kovacic is on 100k. Rudiger is on 100k. Ziyech is on 100k. Mason Mount is on 88k. Christensen's on 80. Mendy's on 75. Emerson's also on 75. Tammy is only on 57. Gilmore 43. Zuma only 40, mad. And that'll probably do it for the moment. There's some few other players there, outside the squad, and also the loan players. But we don't want to go into those. It's really interesting though, isn't it? I think it's interesting. If we are to believe this website, who knows? Let me know what you think, guys. Should Kante be our highest earner? I absolutely think so. And any salaries in there that shocked you, I'd be keen to know. Make sure you comment down below, friends. If you've enjoyed this kind of content, drop a like. Means a lot, friends. Subscribe if you're new. Go check out Football Fat and Yannick. Enjoy the football. I'll see you later, friends.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living. I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.